And here we are, December 31st, 2023. What a year. This year has been absolutely wild. This has probably been the most fascinating year of my life just because of everything that I've been through. I'm at a very cool, I guess, balance of being able to look back at my past, at childhood, as well as being able to see my future, being able to see everything. And it's just such a cool time to be alive. Something happened for me recently that was very fascinating. I had a dream about death that scared the living shit out of me. It's wild how in a dream the feeling, the experience can be so real. Like, I've feared death for a long time in my life. Actually probably has been one of the biggest fears that I've ever had. If not the biggest, right? But in the dream, I felt the fear more profound than in my actual waking life, which was wild. And so, I kind of just want to celebrate that with really looking at the future. This year has undoubtedly been the most transformative year of my life. And I'm just really grateful for my capacity to look at myself. Because healing is challenging. Looking at yourself is challenging. Introspecting, actually choosing different. Talk about probably the most challenging thing. Actually choosing different, right? You've spent your entire life with these hardwired set of behaviors that after a while, once you go unconscious to it, you're basically on autopilot and you just live that way for good, right? And so, just knowing that if you want to live a different life moving forward, you actually have to choose differently, right? So if you want to let go of the drama, the gossip, the chaos, the unpredictability, all of the hardwiring that you learned earlier on in your life, in this case for myself, tripping over my own words here. I learned a lot of these dynamics, right? And I'm now realizing that I don't want to carry out those things anymore. They're just not what I'm looking for. And so with that, I really want to talk about, because I've been seeing, and I know that this is the time of year when the videos come around for my predictions for 2024. I'm going to put a bit of a spin on that. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with that and be a little bit of, I'm going to be a little playful. So, when you can actually predict 2024 and beyond. I haven't watched a lot of the videos out there, actually none this year, that talk about, predictions for 2024. But what I am going to do is that I'm going to say that what doesn't break doesn't change. And specifically what I'm talking about is patterns. Patterns of behavior, specifically learned in childhood, right? If you don't look at yourself, if you don't look at the early stuff that happened in your life, if you don't look at the deeply rooted stuff that sprouted patterns of behavior that led you to live your life in a very specific way, you're not really going to know yourself, and you're also not going to know what it is that needs to change, right? So say, for instance, if somebody's very used to drama and gossip, if they're used to enmeshment and they associate that with intimacy, right? And that's very hardwired. That's learned from childhood, right? If they don't choose differently, if they don't choose to learn and set healthy boundaries, the way that they go about living their life is not going to change. The way that they experience life, the relationships that they hold, none of that stuff is going to change, right? So, yeah, cool, you know, predictions for 2024, the forecast, this, that, and the other. When you can actually predict 2024 and beyond is when you know yourself well enough to know your patterns of behavior, to know who you are, to know why you are the way that you are, right? You can actually predict what your life is going to look like moving forward just by knowing your patterns. And that's the wild thing too, because like I was saying before, a majority of this stuff is just rooted in childhood. And with that, what's required is looking at yourself, which can be very challenging. I would argue, and I've been told, it takes bravery to look at yourself, right? It can be painful to look at yourself. In my own experiences of life, what I've been very used to, and I really don't want this anymore, and it's actually challenging for me to look at myself seriously and be like, yeah, I don't want that anymore, because my hardwiring is so chemically used to that, right? So what I actually am really doing the best that I can to remove myself from, or I don't want to say the best I can anymore because I just don't really like that energy. I'm doing what's required, and it's uncomfortable. I'm doing what's required to remove myself from things like chaos and drama and gossip and unpredictability and, you know, setting myself up with actual serious intimacy. Vulnerability, my capacity to open up to myself and to other people. That's really what this is about. And what I'm fascinated by is just how deep a person can go with themselves, for themselves, right? You know, there are many layers to a human. You know, like once you get through this layer, then there's this one. Once you get through this one, then there's this one. Once you get through this one, then there's this one. Once you get through this one, you know, it just keeps going. It keeps going. It keeps going. It keeps going. And that's really what's so fascinating about it. There's a lot to learn about yourself, and I would argue that anybody can predict at least their 2024 and beyond simply by knowing themselves, simply by knowing their patterns, simply by knowing their childhood, simply by knowing what it is that they've repeated from childhood and what they can do, what they need to do to break those patterns. Because like I was saying before, what doesn't break does not change. If you don't break a pattern because it feels safe of involving yourself in drama, because it's easier and more comfortable to look at other people's lives and how their fucking lives are falling apart, than it is to look at your own self and your own life, because looking at your own self and your own life is actually very fucking painful. And it's okay that it's painful. The pain's not going to go away. I mean, let me make that more clear. The more you don't look at your own life, the more you distract yourself from your own life, it's not like the pain's just going to go away. I would argue, based on my own experiences, that the pain diminishes the more you look at yourself. But the more you wait to look at yourself and you're like, I'm just going to wait, and I don't like whatever that is that's there. There's something there, and it's just, it's like there's an open wound and something really sharp just keeps swiping at it, right? So I'm not comfortable with that. I'm going to keep looking away from it. I don't like it. Let's not do that. It's going to stay there. It's going to stay there, right? And nobody's good or bad for not looking at themselves. But when you do look at yourself, your life can change. I'm not going to say it changes, because just because you look at yourself doesn't mean that your life changes. You have to actually do the work to stop involving yourself in toxic dynamics, in systems of families and friends that limit your growth. You know, you've got to stop giving into the drama and the gossip, the chaos, the unpredictability, all of these familiar dynamics from childhood that felt safe. You've got to choose a different behavior. I've had to choose different behaviors for myself. I've had to literally, and this is actually challenging, when I want to give into the gossip or the drama of, oh, what happened? What happened to him? What about his life? Right? Just distance myself from it. And if I have to pace back and forth and be like, well, Chris is not involving himself in what's comfortable and familiar to him, which is drama and gossip and the chaos and the unpredictability and the adrenaline and cortisol that comes with it, so I'm just going to pace back and forth, literally, physically, and in my own mind, just waiting for me to understand what it is that I should do next, because I'm not familiar with this. I don't know what to do with this right now. This is very different for me. Yeah, there's a whole lot of that comes with breaking patterns of behavior that are comfortable and familiar. If what you're comfortable and familiar with is drama, gossip, chaos, unpredictability, just things that you've known all your life, that once you actually awaken from them and realize that you don't want to partake in that stuff, you'll just continue to partake in it, right? So there's going to be a lot of, probably, I won't say that this is cookie cutter, one size fits all, and just like a generalized way of how things go and work, but once you finally start to break patterns, you might start asking yourself, because I've done this. I've literally just paced back and forth in my own mind, being like, what the fuck do I do now? Where do I go? This is very unfamiliar territory. Oh my God, this is unknown. I don't know what to do with myself. Should I write? Should I scream? Should I cry? What should I do? Where should the energy go, right? It's unfamiliar territory. And so then you look at it and it's like, well, how do I approach this? And that's really the start of everything changing. But you have to choose a different behavior. I had and continue to have to choose. I'm still somewhat familiar with drama and gossip. I'm still somewhat familiar with, it's still kind of challenging to look at my own life, so I'm going to look at how fucking shitty that other person's life is going, and I'm going to feel better about myself. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. But, you know, when you choose differently, you experience differently. And literally, actually waking up in a social situation when everyone is doing the drama and gossip, the pss, 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 you know, sound like I was talking to a cat. When you actually wake up and you're like, what the fuck have I been doing this time? Holy shit, I genuinely do not give a fuck about what's going on in this other person's life. I'm not going to be here someday. Holy shit, I should take my time more seriously. I should take my energy more seriously. I should actually put in the work and the focus to look at myself rather than everyone else and introspect and learn more about myself and learn more about my hardwiring, learn more about why I've done all the things that I've done. Yeah, let's take the focus back on myself, right? And then, the cool thing about that is when you actually take the focus back on yourself and you become more aware of yourself, when you used to become more, when you used to be so focused on other people, you take that away from other people and you take it back on yourself. And then everyone else, I've experienced this, everyone else is like, what the fuck is going on with Chris? Oh my God, he has changed a lot. He's not in the same role that he used to be in anymore. What do we do about it? And then they fucking drama and gossip about it and everything. And then you're just like, haha, yeah, motherfuckers. And your life is different, right? But then once you do finally wake up from all of that, like really wake up from all of that, you're going to vomit a lot. Metaphorically, you're going to be like, oh God, that's disgusting. I can't believe I ever did any of that. And that's when your life changes. And that is when you can predict, when you can actually predict 2024 and beyond. Happy New Year, my friends.